Now you're welcome along. Busy show ahead. We have Padraig, Ryder Cup captain, on the show. He is going to join us around 7:20 or so. I'm not sure if he's Ryder Cup captain in 2020 or 2021, to be honest, but Ryder Cup captain nonetheless, so he's with us shortly this hour. We'll also have reaction to the end of the Patriots Tom Brady era. Then after 8 o'clock, Keith Wood on Wednesday Night Rugby. Joe Brawley was on OTBAM this morning. We'll bring you some of that conversation after 8:30. And then the football show between 9 and 10. We will have Tim Vickery from Rio and Nathan Murphy will join us as well. 53106 is the text number. We are at Off the Ball. Richie McCormack, I was going to say alongside me, but with
in spirit,
me,
Joe.
With me in spirit from Shay McCormack. Hello.
Well,
how has today been?
It's grand. I made meatballs today,
which were devoured by one and all.
For those who are interested.
And a little bit of breadcrumbs and a bit of egg for binding. What else did we do today? A little bit of a stroll out this morning as well, and that's been just about it.
Excellent. In keeping with most people's afternoons, I would suspect. And you have yourself a nice fancy little microphone I can see there on the screen.
I do, yeah. My old trusty microphone that's used to keeping me company in the wardrobe, but now it's on full show for everybody. Let's
get into the afternoon's news. What has been going on?
A lot of cancellations, a lot of movements, a lot of ins and outs, a lot of what have yous, as the dude might say. With the start of this year's All-Ireland Football Championship has officially been postponed. The GA say the meeting of New York and Galway in the Connacht quarterfinals that was scheduled for May 3rd at Gaelic Park is now off. The game will be considered, they say, in an overall redrawing of the 2020 fixtures calendar. The aforementioned Padraig Harrington says plans remain in place for the Ryder Cup to go ahead in September despite the COVID-19 outbreak. Both of the year's first two majors have been postponed, while action on the PGA Tour is suspended until May 18th at the earliest. But European team captain Harrington says September at Whistling Straits remains the goal for the Ryder Cup.
I suppose that, Richie, is how things are going to go. The events in the distance, there's no need for them to make an immediate decision. But as we've seen, not least on Tuesday, when the Euros get cancelled and there's barely a flicker from anybody, it's a shrug of the shoulders. And of course it has been cancelled reaction. The Ryder Cup, as we get closer to it, may very well fall by the wayside. So we'll have to see. There's no need for them to make a decision just yet.
No, he seems adamant that it's going to go ahead, as of course he would be. It's in September. I'll be curious to know if he is, and they are planning for it to go ahead in September, on what basis is he going to pick the team if you're not going to have anybody seeing action until, I guess, conservative estimate, if we're being at all hopeful, August?
Yeah.
Which would be, a month beforehand? I mean, it's no judgment of a team, so you're essentially just picking whoever you fancy, really. It's almost an ideal situation for him, as he can bring along who he wants. He's not being dictated by points, but again, these are all hypotheticals.
They are. I'll ask him. I think, to be fair, he's adamant it hasn't been cancelled or moved. I don't know if he can be adamant it's going ahead, but we'll chat to him in 10 or 15 minutes time or so and see what he has to say about the whole thing. He has been doing a lot of golf instruction videos. I don't know.
Fair play to him. I saw some of these on Twitter, yeah.
I mean, he's really thrown himself into it. This is a marathon, not a sprint. We all need to get our heads around that. I mean, I think one a day is plenty.
This is something that David Ledbetter used to charge like 50 quid a pop for in VHS back in the early 90s on Super Channel. I mean, this is stuff that Harrington's given away for nothing.
Yeah.
And you're getting to, learn at the feet, or at the camera, as it were, of a man who's got a couple of majors under his belt. That's not bad.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be asking, I fully intend to know who's recording the videos. One of them in the bunker one, he said, "Paddy, come round this side." So I presume it's the young fella being dragged around. Dad, this is like the 254th video we've done in the back garden, for the love of God. But
because that's the thing I was kind of thinking about Harrington, is that he's not one to just do one and go, this is how you do your chipping, this is how you do your putting. He is going to want to cover every single minute bit of golf that there is to cover, and he'll manage to get it all done, I would imagine, before we're all back to work.
Look, I think at this stage we need to get Paddy a proper camera. If there's one lying around that can go on the shoulder easily enough, that might be the thing to get out of the Harrington household. Let's turn these into a DVD series.
If there's anybody that can damn well afford it, I'm sure it's Patrick, to be honest with you. Let's not, split hairs here. That man, you've been in his house. You've seen what goes on out there. You can afford a camera.
Somebody says this must feel like a return to pirate radio for Richie. Broadcasting from his bedroom, he'll be making up text messages from Sandra cruising around in the Kerala any second now, says Sean.
We used to get an obscene amount of actual texts in on pirate radio back in the day, and none of them were made up. I remember counting them up one night. This is when I was on Phantom, back when I started around 2002. We were above Whelan's on Wexford Street around that time, and literally you'd be getting like 90 odd texts in per show. And I was on, my first show was like a Monday night, 11 till midnight, 11 till 1. And I used to be getting on 90 odd texts in. So remarkably popular back then, and slightly more salubrious than my bedroom, I have to say. A few more CDs knocking around at that stage.
Well, indeed. Meanwhile, Eddie Hearn is still hoping against hope.
Yeah. Katie Taylor's fight with Amanda Serrano is still going ahead as planned. That's according to Hearn. The promoter says all of Matchroom's scheduled fights from May onwards remain on course, but that could change because of coronavirus. Taylor is due to face the former 7-weight world champion Serrano in Manchester on May the 2nd. The fight's on the same card as Dillian White's meeting with Alexander Povetkin, and Hearn says they could end up moving the card to later in the summer.
Now, Horse Racing Ireland, they met today.
Yeah, more stringent measures are going to be put in place on racing in the country, which will continue behind closed doors. Among the measures being introduced from today, there will be no runners allowed from overseas. Evening fixtures have also been shelved. That hits Dundalk in particular. And a subcommittee is going to continue to monitor the coronavirus as it relates to racing on a daily basis. So at least they're very much on top of this one.
Yeah, once they're consulting with all the right people, I'm sure they are, because you just are. It has to be safety first at all costs at the moment. So
yeah, they've also in their statement today, they said they're going to make their facilities available to the HSE and to the government if it's at all needed. This is something that we're seeing happen across the board. It started with Croker, I guess, and it's been continuing on with Pairc Ui Chaoimh, as we'll mention in a minute, and a few others. But yeah, Horse Racing Ireland, they say they're in consultation with the Department of Agriculture on a daily basis, with the health officials on a daily basis. So yeah, on top of things.
Mayo GAA then?
Mayo GAA have announced that they won't be collecting levy payments from their clubs for the months of March and April. That's due to the coronavirus outbreak. Clubs in the county pay €7,000 each per year to help service the debt incurred by the development of Castlebar's McHale Park. Mayo say they're taking the decision to ease the burden on their clubs in an uncertain time. As we alluded to there, the Cork County Board's postponed the first round of club championship games that have been scheduled across the 4 weekends in April and the first 2 weekends in May. It's also been confirmed that Pairc Ui Chaoimh is now available to the HSE, who are considering possible uses for the stadium during the pandemic. Croke Park also being used as a drive-through test centre for COVID-19.
I'm sure you've seen the video, everyone's seen, have you, of somebody driving into Croke Park?
That's somebody mentioned.
Very, very surreal, obviously, but amazing too to see the stadium put to that use.
Yeah, and when you see, 24,000 calls into the HSE in the last 24 hours in an effort for people to help in whatever way they can during the course of this, has been remarkable to see the way people have turned out. But as somebody pointed out on, I think it was probably on Twitter yesterday, when Croke Park announced that they were making their facilities available for COVID-19 testing, for HSE testing, I'm sure there were small parts of people that thought, lads, I'm going to be driving out here on the pitch at Croke Park. How cool is this going to be? And then you see the pictures doing the rounds and I'm just going underneath the stands.
Yes.
A little bit of a letdown, but sure, you make what you can.
Absolutely. So that seems to be working quite well, and testing is going to increase massively over the coming days, is every indication. McLaren, meanwhile?
Yeah, good news from McLaren this afternoon. They've confirmed that all 7 members of their race team who were tested for coronavirus ahead of the postponed Australian F1 Grand Prix have returned negative results. One person who was initially tested positive is now free of symptoms. All of them are remaining in self-isolation in Melbourne as a precaution. The season opening race was cancelled, and the start of the campaign has also been pushed back to May. It seems as if they're going to get rid of their mid-season break as well, in an effort to make time for the season when it eventually does resume. Another piece of good news I wanted to bring you as well, Joe, this evening. Former St. Pat's midfielder Conan Byrne today has raised over €11,000 for the Irish Cancer Society. He walked to every League of Ireland ground in Dublin today and the Aviva Stadium as well in his efforts to, as he say, turn Dublin yellow. He took the step after the Irish Cancer Society were forced to cancel Daffodil Day, and here is Conan Byrne.
So I made it. I'm at the Aviva Stadium.
Good on him. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, fantastic stuff altogether. He was wearing a jersey of each club as he walked to it or walked from it. So yeah, he was keeping everybody sweet this afternoon.
Okay, fair play to him. Pat and Ballina. Now, I'm not saying there's no such thing as a bad idea, Richie, but Pat's getting there. Pat's really trying to flirt with that line, I would say. Guys, here's an idea.
If it's a creative time, I'm welcoming it. Bring it on.
No, I agree. I'm giving this, I'm platforming this to the nation. Why don't you pick a day from last year and do an entire 3 hours reacting to the sports news that would have happened, that did happen on that day? You could even choose a Champions League night, watch the game and react to the goals as they go in from Pat and Ballina.
But Pat, that is going to freak somebody out if we do that.
I will struggle to react to the goals with the necessary surprise. I mean, my acting chops are excellent, obviously, Richie, but I may struggle. I may struggle. Geez, Liverpool really up against it tonight at home to Barcelona, but I have a feeling.
See, that's you. You'd give it away. I'd be fully willing to play along with this. I'd be like, no way.
No chance.
They're rubbish. They're out of it. And then next thing you know, Trent Alexander-Arnold has taken a pretty quick corner. Now, that would freak people out because that would think you'd have somebody who's, I don't know, maybe woken up from a sleep, is turning on the radio, they're napping at unusual times, given the fact that they're at home. They wake up, turn on the radio, and suddenly they've gone back to 2019. And nobody's told them about it. That's going to cause ructions.
Or even more beautifully for that person, they would think, my God, it was all a dream.
I get to relive this all over again.
No, they would think the corona situation has been all a dream.
That's still my hope, Joe. I'm waking up every morning and kind of thinking, right, I've woken up now, haven't I? This is it. I'm finally going into the actual Wednesday. I know.
Speaking of waking up and thinking something was all just a lovely dream, that reminds me for my tactic for the Irish Leaving Cert. You know, there's the essay, obviously. You have to write the essay. And I did not enjoy Irish, did not like it, did not like the way it was taught, struggled with it. But I had a fairly impressive learnt off last paragraph, which basically, whatever the subject of the essay was, guess what, Richie? It was all a dream. It was all a dream. I would stir from my slumber. I would use a few Mo Caníla verbs there. I would hear my mother downstairs cleaning up the kitchen. I would think, you know, and then I would summon and realise it was all a dream. And so the quality of the final paragraph of my Irish essay went from very distinctly average to stupendously good.
And the Irish word for dream is, Joe?
Wow. Go on.
Oh my good God. Is it Bringloge? It's Bringloge, isn't it?
I can't even remember.
I think it is Bringloge.
This is the problem with rote learning. This is the problem.
The problem is you were relying
on 20 tropes to get you through your leaving cert as a 17, 18-year-old. I would have thought better of it.
I was tactical. No, I was tactical about it.
Shower kind of stuff here. That's a bit strange.
Tactical. Where are we going next?
To the tennis, which has also been shelved. The WTA and ATP Tours this evening released a joint statement suspending the clay court season as a whole, with tennis on hold until June the 7th at the very earliest. The decision follows that of Roland Garros organisers to postpone this year's French Open until late September. The ATP had already suspended its calendar until late April at the earliest, while the WTA was set to resume in the first week of May. That won't happen now, as we know, and the continued coronavirus crisis has led to both tours taking drastic action. Wimbledon organisers, for their part, say they're still planning for a June 29th start date, and the resumption of both tours coincides with the start of the grass court season in the first week of June. But again, this is all pretty hopeful thinking on their parts. FIFA has donated €9 million to the World Health Organization's COVID-19 Solidarity Response Fund. World Football's governing body has also set up a working group to look into the issues the coronavirus pandemic will cause the sport. The DFB, the German football team, they've donated $2.5 million as well. While a decision will be taken at a later stage to reschedule the Club World Cup, which was due to take place in China in the summer of 2021. That's now found stiff competition in the form of the European Championships. The English Football League, they're putting together a £50 million short-term relief package to help clubs deal with the impact of coronavirus. It'll be made up of advanced basic award payments and interest-free loans. The EFL say completing the current season remains their primary objective once it's safe to do so. Next month's EFL trophy final between Portsmouth and Salford City has been postponed.
Richie McCormack, thanks very much. We'll talk tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, good luck. Richie McCormack there with the Newsround this evening. We have a busy show after 8 o'clock. Keith Wood will join us. Joe Brolly was on OTBAM this morning. We'll bring you a good chunk of that conversation after 8:30. The football show has Tim Vickery from Rio. Nathan Murphy will also join us. And up next, we will talk to Padraig Harrington. Now, you're very welcome back. Golf is no different to every sport and sector in society at the moment. Regular tour events have shut down. The Masters, as we saw last week, postponed. USPGA Championship in May officially postponed. The US Open and the Open Championship will presumably follow very shortly. We have the Ryder Cup captain, Padraig Harrington, on the line. Evening, Padraig.
Evening, how are you doing?
Pretty well. How are you doing?
I think I'm doing very well considering. Yeah.
You're in Dublin at the moment?
I'm in Dublin, at home here, and trying to stay out of the way. It's actually obviously not a bad place to be for me, so it's kind of bad times, but making the most of it.
Leo Varadkar last night, I'm sure you watched it like most people did, he called this period the calm before the storm, and there is that palpable sense of fear and